We're timed out.
All right, no talking.
Of others, he must control himself. Unfortunately, in the public eye, this gave Bud Grant the personality of a man who mistakenly got off in Minnesota on his way to Mount Rushmore, where he had a date to be carved in granite.
There are many different sides to Bud Grant, and I think the public only had an opportunity to see one, and that was the stone-faced coach standing on the sidelines, and nothing seemed to affect him, no emotion. But he was a very emotion-filled human being.
I don't deny that he sometimes looks like he's a little cold out there. But...
Hey, folks, welcome to Victory Sunday. The Minnesota Vikings have defeated the Seattle Seahawks 30-17. And oh, by the way, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I'm Ted Glover, your humble host. Next to me is my partner in crime on Vikings Report with Drew and Ted is Drew Bunning. And the owner, purveyor, longtime webmaster of the Daily Norseman, who is also the birthday boy today. One Mr. Christopher Gates. Chris, happy birthday.
Thank you, Ted. If the Vikings could play like that next week, it could be my birthday next week, too. That'd be pretty awesome.
So you can say you got a happy ending.
Yeah! And we're off and running. We are off and running. That was nice.
Look at you guys. You guys are smiling and sweating cold cuts already.
Sweating cold cuts, baby. Sweating cold cuts.
How much fun was that?
That was happy birthday, Christopher. Lead off with.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it. I mean, this game started off just bad. I mean, the first half, there was no resistance to Seattle's offense. And then I can't remember who I read it from on social media because I was doing stuff around the house during halftime or whatever. But there was somebody that said that at halftime, Mike Zimmer told the defense to, quote, stop freelancing. And yeah, they came out in the second half, and how many points did Seattle have after halftime?
John Poltarski's grade point average, 0.0.
Let me throw it up there. 17 points, 308 yards in the first half. Second half, 0 points, 42 yards, Ted Glover.
That is about as impressive a turnaround from this defense that we have seen in 2 years?
At least.
I mean, 308 yards to four. Then the second half they had 42.
It was impressive.
I mean, I remember posting something at halftime it was early in the second quarter about some of the Seattle players were doing. Like 2 minutes into the second quarter, DK Metcalf had 5 catches for 88 yards. He finished with 6 for 107. After the first 2 minutes of the second quarter, he had 1 catch. I mean, I don't know what they were doing to him that was different, but the Vikings defense hasn't looked like that since like the second half of the Chargers game back in 2019. I don't think.
I'd go with that. Yeah. They looked bad all last year. Looked bad. It started off kind of rough. I mean, let's start off with going back to yesterday when the Vikings said they were going to activate Dakota Dozier, and they didn't activate A.J. Rose. They only had 2 running backs because Dalvin Cook was inactive because of his ankle that injury he sustained last week. I kind of thought that was a bit of a risky move with only 2 running backs plus fullback C.J. Ham. It worked out, and it worked out well because Alexander Madison had well over 100 yards, and he looked great running the football today. But were you guys surprised with that set of personnel moves yesterday? Drew?
No, it's par for the course for the Vikings. Not surprised at all, Ted.
Okay.
I probably should have been, but I'm kind of numb to any of the surprises so far. But, they got 135 on the ground. 112 came from Matty. So they got it done one way or the other. But, yeah, I was surprised by that, yeah.
Chris, did it surprise you at all?
Absolutely. I mean, with as much as the Vikings like to run the ball, they usually have 3 running backs on the roster. It's usually Cook, Madison, and Abdullah for the most part. And now they had Madison, they had Abdullah. And like you said, I thought they were going to bring A.J. Rose up from the practice squad just so they had that third guy just in case. Because, knowing the Vikings, this is the kind of situation where Madison goes out halfway through the first quarter and can't play anymore. And we're down to 1 running back. And, that would have been bad. But, Madison really, really got the job done today. He was impressive.
I was fully expecting Madison to blow out his hamstring about his third or fourth carry. Honest to God, after that set of moves yesterday, I thought, oh, geez, they are just tempting fate.
Right.
Thankfully, that didn't happen, and Alexander Madison had a great game. Didn't start out great for the Vikings, though. I mean, before you could sit down and drink your first beer, the Vikings were down 17-7, and it was, once again, the Vikings defer kickoff. Mike Zimmer puts his defense on the field, and I thought he did a great job taking the crowd out of it early by letting the Seahawks go up 17-7.
It didn't even take Seattle very many plays. The first drive for the Seahawks, 9 plays, 75 yards, 4.5 minutes. And like you said, before you could sit down and have your first adult beverage, it was 7-0.
They were running us out of the stadium in the first quarter.
They were.
Yeah.
And I was going, holy yacht. This is going to be a long day.
It kind of felt like it, but we've talked a little bit about Alexander Madison. I want to take a minute or 2 or 10 or 20 to talk about Kirk F. Cousins.
Yeah. What a game. Best game he's had as a Viking.
I'm done with the Kirk Cousins slander from the J School kids on social media and all these other people that are just Kirk Cousins' greatest transgression in the eyes of Viking social media has always been that he's not Teddy Bridgewater or Case Keenum, because I think people were so attached to those two guys after the 2017 season that after the Vikings let those two guys go and brought in Cousins, like nothing that Kirk Cousins did was ever going to be good enough for anybody. I mean, and he's had his moments where he's made some kind of head scratching decisions, but like someone posted just a little bit ago, he's a Dalvin Cook fumble and a Greg Joseph field goal away from being in the MVP conversation at this point, because the Vikings would be 3-0.
We're 2 plays away from being 3-0.
Yeah. I walk face first into that one. That's totally my bad.
If you have anything crappy to say about Kirk Cousins right now at this point, you just don't like the guy. Because First off, about Teddy Bridgewater, he ain't making that pass to Thielen. He ain't throwing that ball in there. Not Teddy Bridgewater. That was a dime, a laser, and a dart all rolled into one.
Yeah.
What a fantastic game.
He's not making that throw off his back foot to KJ Osborne on that third down at the end of the game. That was so ridiculous. That was like some of the stuff we saw Kyler Murray doing last week off his back foot over 3 defenders right into the guy's hand.
Do we have a money sound effect? Money? That was money.
I laughed for a solid 5 minutes after that pass because that was amazing.
That guy,
I couldn't believe it.
That guy made some big plays today.
So, Drew, you said you thought this was Kirk Cousins' best game. I was going to ask you guys. I think statistically, Kirk has probably had better games. I think he's passed for over 400 yards a couple times as a member of the Vikings. I would argue, though, that from opening kickoff to final gun, that this was the best, most consistent game he has played. He made throw after throw. The thing that has bugged me about the Minnesota Vikings offense under Kirk and not just Kirk, but the myriad of offensive coordinators they've had is that they cannot take the football, eat up clock, drive the field, score, and put the game away. And they did exactly that today with 11 minutes and 39 seconds remaining. They were up, I believe it was 24-17 or 27-17. They had a 10-point lead. Game still very much in doubt. They ate up, by my count, that they started 11:39. They scored kicked a field goal with 4:33 left. So that's 7 minutes of game clock. Yep. And Greg Joseph kicked a gimme field goal to go up 30-17 and essentially ended this football game. The Vikings offense has had trouble doing that, and they did exactly what they needed to do today. And it was due in large part to Kirk Cousins, because you talked about that throw on third down in the face of a heavy blitz, just kind of doink over to KJ Osborne for a huge gain and a first down.
Looking at the statistics, the Vikings 3 scoring drives in the second half, and they all ended in field goals, but they didn't. In this instance, they didn't need more than field goals. But the first scoring drive right out of halftime, 16 plays, 8 minutes and 26 seconds. The one that spanned between the third and the fourth quarter, 11 plays, 5 minutes and 1 second. And then the last one, 12 minutes and ate up 7 minutes and 8 seconds of clock. So that's like 20 minutes out of the 30 minutes of the second half that the Vikings held onto the football. I mean, that doesn't count the drive where they punted at the end or whatever. So they dominated the second half against the team that, had their number.
Overall, 34 minutes of possession time in that game for the Vikings.
Yep.
And that, and the thing is, the Vikings have won time of possession before. The Vikings have scored 30 points before, and they've come out on the short end of it. Mm-hmm. This time Drew, I think they not only scored points, but they ate clock when they needed to and kept drives alive and kept Seattle off the field.
Absolutely right. Let's talk about a couple drives. Man, it feels good to win, don't it?
It does. God,
we're going to give away a prize today. It's Chris Gates' friggin' birthday, and we kick Seattle's ass.
Let's give away 2 prizes.
We're going to give away 2 prizes. Ted Glover has called it, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it live. We're going to give away 2 prizes today because, damn it, we needed a win, and we got it.
Let's get over out here. You get a prize. You get a prize. You get a prize.
Let's talk a little bit about that possession time, guys. I mean, opening the second half, they had that 8-minute drive, which for one helped the defense, which was back on its heels the whole first half. They start out 8-minute drive, ended in a field goal, but it was still huge. And then they kick it off. Seattle had the 3rd and 7 with 12 minutes left. They stopped them on 3rd and 7, and then they commenced to having an 88-yard drive, which ate up another 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Those are 2 drives. Right? That's a game right there. That's what you swing the game on. The adjustments in the second half and those 2 long-ass drives. Hats off to Clint Kubiak, and especially hats off to Cousins. Didn't it feel like Cousins, this is what we want to see from him? It felt like his team today and his game, and he wasn't going to be denied. He throw after throw from the pocket, big play after big play. He made all of them.
It very much did feel like Kirk's.
Didn't it feel like that?
There's something different. I'm after today. I want to say there's something different about Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's this. I never thought he was a bad quarterback, but I thought there were times he would struggle in big moments, and through 3 games, I haven't seen that. Now you could argue about the quality of play, and I think Arizona's a pretty good team, and he drove them right down the field. Kirk. It feels like there's something different mentally about Kirk. Like maybe he's sick of everybody's bullshit, and he's just about to had it, and he's just gonna fine. You want me to be this guy? I'm gonna be this guy, and wear a black hat, be a bad guy, walk into a press conference, freaking smoking a heater, flick it off into the media, and let's go.
It didn't seem like that today, right? I mean,
didn't it?
Not only that pass that the birthday boy mentioned with the pass to Osborne, he had one. I think it was the 3rd quarter. A free blitzer came right up, and he didn't cower down. He threw that pass to Conklin. He got the first down out of it. It was like I looked at Ruby and went, "That's money. That's what he's got to do. That's what Kirk Cousins has to do to lead this team." But overall, he carried himself like it was his game and his team. He's on the sideline. Jefferson and Thielen are right there with him, and they're all talking together. It just seemed different. You're right, Ted. It seemed different.
And I don't, and maybe like it just seems like in past seasons in the heat of that blitz, Kirk would just eat it and live to play another down in another series. And maybe he knows that the defense isn't what it was when he first got here. And it's incumbent upon him as the quarterback to take this team down and score every drive. And if that's the mentality, great, go for it. Do it because I mean, I think the Vikings have scored on doggone. I think they only punted once today, and that was at the end of the game, or maybe only twice. Okay,
8 drives, 6 scores.
You can't ask for a whole lot better than that.
I mean, I just rattle off. I call it the 5-finger death punch. I know it means something else, but there's like 5 stats every week. If you keep track of these 5 stats, it'll almost tell if you're going to win or lose every week. And that's one of them. The red zone, they were 3 for 6. How about 3rd down conversions? The Vikings were 8 for 26 in their first 2 games. 8 for 26. Today they're 9 for 13. Huge
Wow.
difference.
Huge.
Difference. And how many turnovers has Kirk Cousins had in 3 games?
Again, John Blatarski's grade point average. What is that, Chris?
0.0.
But you know what? You're not going to hear about that.
No.
Nope. The one drive that I want to kind of look at, and it's something that we've talked about before with the Vikings and the 2-minute drill. The Seahawks, well, first of all, something that never happens against this team. They had a kicker actually miss a field goal against them.
I couldn't believe it.
A guy who had made 37 straight field goals pushes one wide to the left to give the Vikings the ball back. And this is the situation where we sit there, we say, all right, Mike Zimmer's just going to slam the ball into the line and we're going to play for a field goal. No, they didn't play for a field goal. They marched that thing right down the damn field, and Cousins found Jefferson for the touchdown. And they took the lead, and they basically never looked back after that, because that put them up going into the locker room. And yeah, Kirk was just like, the hell with all this. We're going in with a lead, and we're going to hold on to the lead. And that's what they did.
We talked about that throw to Thielen, that just laser. We talked about that blitz throw on 3rd down to Osborne. How about that touchdown throw to Jefferson at the end of the half? He put that only where Jefferson could get it, and Jefferson absolutely clowned the defender on that route he ran. That was a perfect route and a perfect throw, and I'm thinking maybe 3 other quarterbacks in the NFL make that throw to Jefferson.
He was playing unstressed. Cousins was unstressed. This is what we've been waiting to see, Ted. We talk about in Vikings Report all the time. When are the Vikings going to punch first? Today, they punched him right in the freaking mouth. They did. They were punching and not backing down. That 88-yard drive, we all thought it was going to be a 3 and out. They ran it for 2 yards. We're waiting for the punter. Send the punter out. Mm-hmm. Next pass, 28 yards to Thielen. And we're going, I didn't expect that. But they punched today. They fought. That's what you want to see.
Raymond Hoagland, you're going to be our first prize winner. You've had a couple of great comments. He said Kirk's been locked in. And he said, I think it's because Kirk and Zim are finally working together. And Drew, I know you don't watch. I know you watch the game with the audio down. Chris, did you hear that comment about Zim and Kirk meeting for like 45 minutes? Was it once a week towards the end of the week, or a couple times a week, to just kind of go over the game plan and what's going on with the week and how that has improved their relationship? Did you remember hearing that comment?
Yeah. Why the hell have they not been doing that the whole time?
Exactly.
He's your starting quarterback, for God's sake. Watch film with the guy. It's not. I don't. Why have you not been doing that before now?
4 years in. Hey, Kirk, why don't you come on in? Let's have a little chat. I mean, come on, man. Really?
It's like your guitar player playing rhythm guitar for 4 years, and then he plays a ripping lead. Hey, why don't we do that more?
Anyways, Raymond, congratulations, our first prize winner. Get a hold of Ruby. Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com to get her your address and all that good stuff, and we'll get you the first prize out to you. So,
congrats,
all right, first
Raymond.
one down, one to go. Congratulations, Raymond.
How many prizes we giving away today, Ted?
Just one more. Just one more.
Good
I can't keep up with all the comments. It's flying.
We got commenters coming. Thank you, everybody, for
yeah.
joining us for the Vikings Rewind. Thank you for joining us. We're all in a good mood. We won, and we love your comments. And it's Chris's birthday. So if you're going to comment, you better say it's happy birthday, Chris Gates. Because if you don't, the Deuce is going to be mad.
Yeah, that's true. So the defense, are we still, Drew, are you still worried about the defense? Does one half of really good football make you think that this is a stepping stone to the rest of the season, or are you still thinking we got work to do?
You know what's really weird, guys? You've both watched as much football as I have. Let me throw this out at you. Seattle had 308 yards in the first half. Let me repeat that. 308 yards in the first half. They didn't get any turnovers. The Vikings didn't. 308 yards, and they were losing 21-17. That is a weird stat, to get 308 yards and then still be behind. I think it was 21-17, wasn't it? I am not sold, even though it went from 308 yards to only 42 in the second half. I'd like to ask you guys, what the hell was Seattle doing to only get 42 yards in the second half after guys running free in the. I mean, just ridiculous. I don't know. The Vikings played really well, but you got to hang some of that loss on Seattle's offense, right?
I mean, we went over some of it with the time of possession that the Vikings managed to crank out in the second half. I mean, the Seahawks ran 5 offensive plays in the third quarter. That was it. They had the ball long enough to run 5 plays. They got 1 first down. And other than that, it was just the Vikings just walking up and down the field and doing whatever they wanted. So the Vikings just didn't give them the football, which, is a good way to help your defense.
Ted, how does the defense look that different in one half than the first half? How does it look so much different?
I think Chris was onto something. That first 2 drives of the second half of the Vikings, both ended in field goals. They had a 10 or 11 play drive that goes for a 43-yard field goal that goes 8 minutes. Yeah. Seattle has 3, 4, 6 plays and they have to punt. And then the Vikings go on another 7, 8, 9, another 11, 12-yard play to kick a field goal. And then, Seattle goes on another 5 or 6 play drive and they got to kick it again. I mean, that the game was decided in those first 3 drives. I mean, we talk about the Vikings defense being bad this first 2.5 games. Seattle's defense was pretty horrid the entire game because they choked away a 17-7 lead in the first quarter. The Vikings ended up with the lead at halftime thanks to a really good 2-minute drive that we already talked about. And then they just went down the field and 8 clock and couldn't and the Seahawks couldn't get the Vikings offense off the field the entire second half.
Say what you want.
And Drew touched on the third down thing already. They were 9 for 14 on third down. I mean, some of those are probably, just slamming the ball into the line at the end when they were trying to run the clock down and whatever. And the other thing, you remember how many penalties the Vikings had against Cincinnati in week 1?
17, I believe, wasn't it?
Well, they had 17, but they had 12 accepted.
12 that were accepted.
Vikings had 12, and in Arizona, you committed 3 that had accepted and 3 today.
Yep.
So that's 6 the last 2 weeks and 12 the first week.
It's amazing how much better the offense functions when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
They say it's your birthday.
Oh my God.
Good point, though.
One other guy we really haven't talked about yet, who I thought had a heck of a pretty good game, Drew, was Tyler Conklin.
The Gronk, dude. He was not only catching it, that guy was running like murderer's rope. You talk about sweat and cold cuts. That guy was looking to pound somebody's queso.
Yeah, he was.
He was pounding the queso.
He's about 250, 260 pounds of moving pissed off that I wouldn't want to get in the way of when he had.
He's not going to run those seam routes or any of those like deep post X like things like Kelsey runs or anything. But you know what? That was a great game for him. And we're all hurting at tight end without Irv Smith. But what a great game for Conklin today. What did he have? I got the stats here. He had like 8 catches or something.
7 for 70 and a touchdown.
Ted, can't ask for more than that from your tight end, second string tight end.
No, yeah. And Chris, I don't know that Tyler Conklin is going to fill the shoes that we expected Irv Smith to put on the field and the year we were expecting him to have. I don't think the Conklin can fill those shoes. But if you can get 6 or 7 catches, and I want to say I might be wrong, but every catch Conklin made was a big one. It was either for a first down or got the Vikings into a really manageable down and distance. And he had that one I thought he was going to score down on the goal line. If you can get that kind of play out of your tight end every week, I don't think you could really have any complaints considering Irv Smith is gone for the year.
Absolutely not. I mean, just looking at the play-by-play from the game book here, looking at his catches in order, I see catch for 17 yards into Seattle territory. You got the touchdown catch. Let's see, that was an incompletion to him. Pass that got them down to the Seattle 5. That was a shorter one. That was a 7-yarder. Another one for 16 yards down to the 3. That was the catch right before the Jefferson touchdown. Another shorter one. He had the one where the Seattle linebacker got hurt, and then he had one on a second one toward the end for 14 yards as well. So yeah, they were all big catches. They were all pretty much most of them moved the chains or got the ball into the end zone. And yeah, like you said, he's not Irv Smith or anything like that, but he's not, trash or anything like that either.
I'm just happy to see him using the tight end. He had 8 targets. 8 targets is probably more than he's had all season, and he had 7 catches out of it. I like to see the Vikings. It seems like they're more successful when they implement use of the tight end. It really does to me.
All right, so I think we may have our second winner
Already?
I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to call my shot right now.
Okay.
Justin Barkley, come on down. The Conklin train is the Snowpiercer. It's never going to stop.
That's worthy of a prize right there.
And then Jason Feinhage said, "Hey, I think Ted needs to drink the tepid water every week." That was the key. And then Justin Barkley says, "Yeah, LOL at Ted's tepid water." So Justin, congratulations. You're our second prize winner for today. Get a hold of Ruby and get you your prize out to you. So congratulations.
Raymond got a prize. Who did we just give this one to?
Justin Barkley.
Justin Barkley got a prize.
Now,
Great Charles Barkley. Justin Barkley.
No, Justin Barkley. Charles's third cousin. Allegedly, I don't know. Who knows?
We're giving away prizes. We're having a good time today. Chris's birthday episode.
Now, no Vikings win can be complete without some kind of drama. And as we speak, Cam Dantzler is pretty irritated about what's going on with his situation. He said, on Twitter, he tweeted out, I'm tired of biting my tongue about this whole situation, FR, which I assume means for real, ... So, yay, there's a win. And now we've got drama coming ahead.
Your team just won. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm thinking.
Come on, man.
The situation is the defense looked as good as they've have in about a year, and now you want to start running your mouth about you not playing.
That's the guy at the strip club when you go and everybody's having a good time and he's walking around complaining about the price of the drink. These drinks are outrageous. This $9 for this Long Island night. $9. Shut up. There's that one guy in the group that bitches at the strip club. The pretzels are stale. Shut up.
I thought there was a lunch buffet here.
Remember Pac-Man Jones? I went to the strip club because of the buffet.
Yeah.
We just had a great win. We had a great team win. Don't bring it down by being the guy who bitches about the prices at the strip club. Don't.
Speaking of which,
was that an Uncle Paulie analogy, or was that just when you? I don't know.
No, that's from some other guy I knew that used to frequent strip clubs quite a bit. Chris, that's not me.
Rhymes with Stu Lunting.
Come on, Dantzler. Nice. You're better than that. Just enjoy the win.
Another thing we really should talk about before we get out of here is Viking special teams. After a rough week last week, especially the Greg Joseph miss we all know about, Greg Joseph was cash money today. He seemed, and it was there are a lot of angst, and kickers just kind of do that to the Vikings and Vikings fans. Would he bounce back? Could he recover? It was an easy field goal that he missed last week to win the game, and he nailed 3 plus all his extra points. So Greg Joseph, very good bounce back game after what happened last week.
It was, and Jordan Berry had another solid game. He didn't have to punt very many times, but that one at the end that he dropped like right at the 1 yard line, that was just that was basically the cherry on top of the sundae for this one, because that was nice. We haven't seen that out of a Vikings punter in a long time.
Greg Coleman.
Wasn't that the epitome of a coffin corner kick? I mean,
yes,
that ended the game right there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All
right, so Vikings win. Mike Zimmer gets a big win. I think that's the first time he's beaten Pete Carroll in 37 attempts.
Good job, Mike Zimmer.
Something like that, yeah.
And then Kirk once again outduels Russell Wilson for his first time since his days at Michigan State.
Ted
Big Ten championship game.
You gave him the check mark on Vikings Report. You called that, buddy. That's you, man. You called it. You said, I'm going to go Kirk. this
I
week?
called the Vikings to lose, though, so.
Well, I
don't
called them
know.
to win. So as long as we wash it out on the balance, we're not going
All
to
right.
complain about the drink prices, are we?
No. Drew, what do you think about how the offensive line played today?
For the second straight week, I think they did well. The Vikings seem like they're always going to have problems in the pass blocking department, but I think overall they're starting to get a little continuity between themselves, and I think their confidence seems like it's everybody's confidence seemed a lot higher today. The offensive line, Cousins, Conklin, everybody seemed like they had a purpose today, and a good confidence level was going throughout the team. And I think the offensive line might be onto something, Ted.
Chris?
I absolutely agree. And I kind of wonder, one of the moves that the Vikings made is they waived Blake Brandel, who was serving as the swing tackle for the most part. I wonder if that doesn't mean that Christian Darrisaw is actually relatively close to getting in on the action here finally. So,
I saw that, yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been able to focus on the offensive lineman too much, so I don't know how Rashad Hill or each individual offensive lineman looked. But I know that Cousins was only credited with one sack. It was the one on the third down where he got stripped and recovered it and wound up leading to a field goal instead. But the offensive line in back-to-back games now, this is just about as good as the offensive line has looked in a long time. So
that's one sack. I'm sorry. 1 sack last week and 1 sack this week.
Yep.
I don't know a lot about math, but I think that's 2 sacks over 2 weeks. And what did we have the first week? 5 or 6? We gave
5 or 6. And I would argue, I would argue the last 2 weeks, Kirk has moved a lot better in the pocket. The Vikings did a couple naked woggles and a couple bootlegs today to get the pocket moving to the outside, and I thought he made some pretty good throws there. But he's also stepped up in the pocket and he's run the ball. And on that play that you were just talking about where they were driving, but he got stripped and he fumbled the ball. I thought he did a really good job of not trying to make something out of nothing, covering the ball and giving the chance for Joseph to kick a field goal without losing any more yardage. And when he came up off the ground and they shot the camera to him, he looked pissed off.
Right.
And Kirk Cousins pissed off. I'm kind of liking.
There's a few times he walked off the field when we had to punt when he wasn't happy, snapping his chin strap down and stuff. But that's what we let us see out of that guy.
Yes.
And Cousins did just about everything he could do on that play. I mean, I think it was Mark Sanchez pointed out, while he was in the pocket, he was holding onto the football with both hands. He wasn't hanging it out there like a loaf of bread or nothing like that. It's just one of those football plays that happens. And, like you said, he didn't try to, pick it up and play hero ball and throw it in the end. No, he just fell on it and let Joseph come out and kick his field goal and extend the lead. And, that's one of the things that you want from your quarterback. You don't want him to go out and, just make the strange or weird plays all the time.
When it was 17-7, what was going through your mind, Drew? Did you think the Vikings were on the verge of getting run, or did you think they had it in them to come back?
They surprised me with the comeback. I thought it was going to be one team stacking a score on the other team at 41-40 in the fourth quarter. That's kind of how it felt to me. But I have to give Zimmer and the Vikings a lot of credit for adjusting and taking control, because at 0-2, the morale has to be a little bit down there. But today they played with confidence. They seem to swarm to the ball. The tackling still isn't where it needs to be, but they took charge of that game. Let me tell you something. The Vikings might not – say what you want about the Vikings. The Seahawks are sweeping the cellar in the West. They're not going anywhere. They suck. They suck. But I'm really looking forward to that Browns game now. Now I'm teetering on, Joseph makes that field goal last week. We're 2-1. I don't like to play that card, but next week, if we show up against the Browns and pull that one out, our season is completely turned around. This was a huge win for the Vikings.
Enormous. Yeah. The best thing about 1-2 is the chance to go 2-2. But going 0-3, there's nothing good about being 0-3 after 3 weeks. No. I mean, getting the chance to get back to 500 again, being at home, is a huge deal. And we talked about the psychology or the psyche of this football team after losing that game against Arizona last week, the plane ride back and just, all the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And Chris, they put all that aside and put together a good game. Did you think at 17-7 they were in trouble, or did you think they had it in them to come back?
No, I really thought they were in trouble because, like those first few drives of the first half for the Seahawks, that the defense was putting up no resistance.
Zero.
I mean, the Seahawks, they marched right down the field on the first drive. Like you said, the Vikings win the coin toss, give Seattle the ball right away, and 4.5 minutes later, it's 7-0. And, they answered with a touchdown, but, then Seattle put up 10 points and, you were like, oh, here we go. We're screwed. We're not stopping this team again. Chris Carson had like a 30-yard touchdown run, and you were just like, we're not stopping this team. But, they went into the locker room at halftime. Like you said, something completely changed. And, yeah, the Seahawks didn't do anything offensively in the second half. So, yeah, I thought at 17-7, it was going to be a long afternoon for us.
Here's a question from one of our viewers, Steve Schuler. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Steve, he asks, do you think the increased confidence was at least partly due to the excitement of the home crowd? Drew, we talked about that home cooking. Do you think that played into it today?
Certainly didn't start out like that because we took the home cooking right out of it. But I think as the game wore on and as the Vikings fought back, I think the crowd fought back. And I think this was a good team win for the Vikings. I think the crowd was kind of getting to the boo stage where they're going, oh, here we go. We're going to get run out of the stadium, especially after that run Chris just mentioned. After Carson had that run, there was people getting restless in the stadium.
Yeah.
And they fought back. They made a game of it. Not only made a game of it, guys, they took that game over in the second half. They took it over. This wasn't a fluke. They beat Seattle today.
They did.
And the fans showed up and they cheered them on, and everybody's leaving there happy. We're leaving here happy. We got the cold cut sweats. We got Chris Gates' birthday. We've given away 2 freaking prizes. It's a Viking day. So yeah, I think the crowd revved up the Vikings today.
And here's the thing. And Shane, my buddy from like when we were childhood friends, Shane Lynn, if the Packers lose tonight, I was just getting ready to mention this, but if the Packers lose tonight, the Packers are 1-2, the Vikes are 1-2, the Bears are 1-2, and the Lions are 0-3. Did you see the field goal? Did you see how the Lions lost their game today?
How'd the Lions lose? Tell me, what happened?
Chris?
Justin Tucker. Well, the drive for Baltimore started on like their own 5-yard line or something, and Lamar Jackson hit somebody, can't remember who it was. It might have been Hollywood Brown for a long pass. And they brought Justin Tucker out there to attempt a 66-yard field goal. And dude bounced it off the crossbar and through the uprights.
Hit a 66-yard field goal at the buzzer to beat the Lions by 2 points.
Yeah. Off the crossbar.
Off the crossbar. I mean, it went doink straight up and then over by like 3 inches.
Like when you see field goals, if somebody kicks a 50-yard field goal, you say it would have been good from 55. That kick would not have been good from 67. It was good for 66 yards, and that was it. It might have only been like 65 and a half because I don't even know how wide those crossbars are. But yeah, he doinked it right off the crossbar for a 19-17 win.
Ted, sometimes we complain about being Viking fans, but those Lions fans got it worse than us, bro.
That's just bad. I mean,
Sure do.
I legit felt sorry for the Lions. I mean, that is like the most Minnesota Vikings way to lose a football game. And the Lions lost that game.
Oh, I got to look at the highlights. 66 yards. That's a record now, right?
Yeah, that's an NFL record. Yep.
And did you see what happened to Vikings killer Matt Prater earlier in the day?
No, I haven't seen any of the highlights. You know what, Chris? I'm all focused in on our Vikings. Don't let any of that stuff get into my head.
I sit here and watch the Red Zone channel before the game starts. So
there you go.
But Cliff Kingsbury thought it would be a bright idea to bring Matt Prater out for a 68-yard field goal attempt against Jacksonville. And Prater puts his foot into it, and the Jaguars have a guy back to receive it, and they ran it back 109 yards.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's why you don't attempt 68-yard field goals, dude.
And Arizona still won that game by double digits.
They sure did because Trevor Lawrence is
sorry,
not
Urban.
good.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, and now Green Bay's heading out to the West Coast to play. I believe they're the undefeated San Francisco 49ers. So
yep.
This 1-2, yeah, you're right. We joke about it, but the Vikings are 2 plays away from being 3-0.
They are, huh?
But but if the Packers lose, the thing about the NFC North this year, it doesn't appear to be all that insurmountable. I mean, Justin Fields got his first career start for the Bears today, and I think they had negative yards offense through 2.5, 3 quarters. I mean, they just got prison sexed by the Cleveland Browns today.
They had 1 net passing yard.
I mean, jeez.
For the whole game?
Yeah, it was bad.
What?
No way.
It was bad.
Fields got sacked like 9 times.
I heard that that defensive end, whatever his name was, the guy that hit the guy with the helmet, he had a bunch of sacks today.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Bears the Bears ran 42 offensive plays and averaged 1.1 yards per play.
What about the Vikings stacking up 448 yards of offense today,
That
baby?
was sweet.
It was impressive.
It was
229 to 448.
You know, we talk about the Vikings playing complementary football. The offense picks up the defense picks up the offense. The offense scores, the defense holds the opponent to a 3 and out, that kind of stuff. And that had not happened the first 2 weeks of this season. It seemed whenever the Vikings would score, the defense would turn around and give up would turn around and score. If the offense needed to stay on the field to give the defense a rest, they would go 3 and out. I thought today the offense pretty much carried the water for the Vikings for the first half, and then they played exceptional complementary football in the second half, which led to this big win.
They did, and even without Dalvin Cook, the Vikings hit the trifecta. They had a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and a 100-yard receiver. It's that's usually a pretty successful formula. I mean, if you can balance your offense out like that, and we've already talked about how well the defense played in the second half. So, yeah, the Vikings did what they needed to do today.
Well, can we spend just a second talking about that? I want to get your guys' opinion about it. Looked so bad in the first half. The defense was just getting shredded.
Yes.
Now, whatever happened in the second half, which is it going to be? I mean, I know the defense isn't going to be on par to where we want the whole season, but have they struck something going into that's going to carry into this Browns game that might be where we go, man, they just found something in that second half of that Seahawks game and it's carried over? What is it?
Chris, go ahead.
I mean, they might have. I mean, I think a big part of it today, I mean, like we said, they got the drive right before the 2-minute warning to take the lead going into the locker room, and then they had that impressive long drive that wound up in a field goal to start the third quarter. That gave their defense a lot of time to rest. They were fresh. I don't know what the time of possession numbers looked like for the first 2 games, but I know Seattle had like 10 minutes time of possession in the first quarter, and the Vikings only had like 4 minutes. And by the end of the game, like we said, the Vikings had the ball for 36 minutes. So, the last 3 quarters or so, Seattle just didn't get their hands on the football very much. So, yeah.
Drew, one thing we've talked about is we've mentioned on our regular show, Vikings Report, which will air Friday, 10 a.m. Central. Don't miss it. Is
Good job,
that
Ted. Good plug, Ted.
is all these new defensive faces, and they're veteran guys, but none of them had been on the same team before. Plus, you had Danielle Hunter coming back, who had missed all year, Eric Kendricks, who had missed a good chunk of last year, and Anthony Barr, who still isn't back. But you had all those guys that had either not played last year or had not played together. I mean, we're talking 7, 8 dudes.
Right.
And the Vikings chose, for whatever reason, not to play a good chunk of those veterans during the preseason. And maybe at some point, Zimmer at halftime or whatever said, look, just do what we've been telling you, quit freelancing, whatever the quote was. And they just started playing how they've been practicing, and maybe something clicked in the second half. And I'm gonna be hopeful that it was an aha moment, the light bulb comes on kind of thing, and maybe this carries forward. But only way we're gonna find out is to see how they play next week.
That's very well said, and I appreciate you guys commenting on that, because I'm wondering if it was just the offense with the long drives covering up the defense's woes, or if the defenses started clicking. They looked so much different in the second half. They looked so much different. They were like, man, it was talk about tale of 2 halves. Russell Wilson couldn't do anything in the second half. We were sacking him, and it was like, I don't know.
Well, and it seemed like the Vikings were using, in that double A gap look a lot more than they had in the previous year and a half. I remember when Mike Zimmer first became the coach, that double A gap look, whether they would blitz or the two guys in the A gap would drop into coverage, was something they used fairly regularly, and they seemed to get away from it, especially last year. Maybe Mike Zimmer thinks he has the guys he can run that scheme with more this year, but it just seemed like that double A gap look was a lot more prevalent today, especially in the second half.
Right.
And I remember seeing the first 2.5 games of this season.
Give me two spots from each of you you think we can improve on. What two things stand out to you where you'd like to see the Vikings improve?
Go ahead, Chris.
I think, after today, they've really improved on just about everything since the first game when we talked about the penalties. The offensive line's gotten better. They're still having some issues in the secondary. Bashaud Breeland continues to struggle. I don't know if that's specific enough or anything like that, but yeah, I think the struggles in the secondary, at least for what we saw until the second half of this game, is something that needs to be a concern. But yeah, they have improved vastly in a lot of things over the first 3 weeks of the season, and like you said, it's a lot of veteran guys, and maybe it's just a matter of them finally getting the communication down and finally getting into the groove after not playing a lot of the preseason. But yeah, I'm sure I could probably think of another one here eventually, but I think the big one is some of the issues they've been having in the secondary so far is something that needs to improve.
I'm going to go with tackling and limiting explosive plays, and I think those two things go hand in hand. How many tackles have the Vikings missed? I thought the front seven did a pretty good job of when they got to a guy, they wrapped and tackled and didn't give up a lot of big yards. But Chris Carson early on was just gashing the Vikings, and receivers were running wide open. There were a couple plays. I think Tyler Lockett caught a ball. DK Metcalf caught a couple passes where there weren't guys within 5 yards of them. And if you can limit those explosive plays, this score today is even more lopsided than it was. And the 30-17, it's hard to say is a dominant victory, but when you look at the time of possession and you look at how the Vikings offense manhandled Seattle in the second half and how well the Vikings defense played in the second half, I think you can argue this is the most dominant win the Vikings have had since the end of 2019.
I would have to agree.
And if they want to keep doing that, I think the defense needs to tackle a little bit better, especially the secondary. And I think that will go hand in hand with the limiting those explosive plays. But that's
you guys are fantastic. You make me smarter every minute. Love the answers.
What are your two things, Drew? You asked the question. What are your two things?
Mine is tackling. I still think it's piss poor. And I know I'm probably harsher than probably most people are on the tackling thing. Really bugs me. I think the difference today was when they were missing tackling, they were ganging towards the ball more. They had more personnel after they missed a tackle to make the tackle. But still, the tackling to me needs a lot of work. But if they pick that up, that's only going to help. And my second thing is I'm still kind of bummed about how many times we run the ball on first down. It's really too predictable. I'd like to see them pass a little more on that specific down. And I'm not bringing that, not trying to be a downer or anything. They run it almost in the middle, at middle run, almost every first down. And I'd like to see them get away from that a little bit more, maybe mix it up on that specific down a little more. But other than that, I kind of go with Chris. We've improved in so many areas that the improvement outweighs the areas they have to work on. But they still have work to do, of course.
So I wonder if you guys have any insight on this with the offensive game plan we kind of saw. Do you think Mike Zimmer is giving Kubiak the younger a little more autonomy on running the offense? Because like we said, we saw a lot of balance. We saw a lot of pass attempts. Kirk Cousins threw 38 passes today, and we were throwing in situations where we wouldn't ordinarily throw the football. I don't think so. I'm wondering if Mike Zimmer is saying to himself, I should probably let my offensive coordinator coordinate the offense and call plays and whatnot. So it just, like we said earlier, it just felt different.
Didn't it?
Once it got to about 17-14, we got that touchdown to get back to within 3 points. it just felt different, and I can't put my finger on why. And I don't know if that's part of the reasoning behind it or not.
I'll tell you one play that makes me think it is, and it's Clint either saying, "Just let me do my job," or Zim saying, "Look, I'm going to trust you to call a good game." Right at the 2-minute warning, right at the 2-minute warning, the Vikings had a 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7. I 100% expected them to hand the ball off to Madison, and maybe he'd have broken a tackle and got the first down. But I fully expected him to hand the ball to Madison. I think the Seahawks had 7-8 guys in the box, and I'm pretty sure that would not have gotten a first down. Kirk dropped back, found Justin Jefferson on an out route for like 9 or 10 yards and a first down, and that was the ball game essentially. And I thought to myself, I think Zim is letting Clint alone to do his thing, because I don't know that last year that call would have been made.
No, I don't think it would have been.
That's a great point. I thought during that play, first I was surprised. Secondly, I'm thinking there's no way Zimmer wants to give it back to Russell Wilson after last year what happened.
True.
And then I'm thinking, my third thing is, go down. What are you going out of bounds for? And Ruby's all, it's never good enough for you, is it, Drew? No, you catch it, you go down. You don't go out of bounds. Stop the clock. You catch it. No, because Drew is like, man, get off my lawn. It's never good enough.
That essentially iced the game, because they ran the clock down to like 20 seconds or whatever it is, and then Barry punted him inside the 1, and the game was over. So now is that
good call by you though? It's a good call by you. That was something I didn't expect.
It was
that. So now is that something we're going to see? I mean, because Drew, you brought up a very good point. Could that be Mike Zimmer just being petrified of what Russell Wilson could do and what he's done to the Vikings in the past? We'll see that going forward in the coming weeks. I don't know, but I don't know.
I'm sure next week we'll have 4 turnovers in the first half. The Browns will be up 31-0, and we'll all be complaining again.
Fire everybody. All right, we've been going at this about an hour.
You guys are awesome. I love doing this show with you. Thanks for having me on.
Drew, what are your closing thoughts for today?
You know what? I'm going to give my closing thoughts, because I take responsibility for the stuff I do. I always have. I'm going to let the gloom seep in. Christopher Gates. My closing thoughts are 2 things. Happy freaking birthday to Christopher Gates, because you are a great dude and a great friend and a great Vikings guy. My second is I have to say sorry to KJ Osborne. About 4 months ago, I was trying to run that guy off the team. I couldn't stand him. And he has given Drew the big middle finger. Hey, Drew, sit out it and spin. And he has completely changed my mind about what I think about KJ Osborne. So I'm going to spend my final time saying, good job, KJ Osborne. The Vikings came out today, outscored them 23-0 after they took that 17-7 lead. Yep. 23-0. And they did it without Dalvin Cook, and they did it with confidence, and they keep dragging me back in, because right now I'm thinking we're gonna give the Browns a run for their money. I can't wait for next week, but I'm proud of our team, proud of the effort today, and really happy to do a show with you guys.
Chris, birthday boy, what do you got for getting out of here?
I think it was nice that Drew thanked us for having him on. It's your show, Drew. It's called Vikings Report with Drew and Ted. But
it's our show, baby.
Like I said, this is a hell of a lot more fun to do after a win than it is to do after a loss. Because like we said, it's 17-7. I fully expected us to come on here and be, we sucked again. It was bad. We got beat. We lost to Russell Wilson again, and things turned around. And this could be a turning point for this team for the rest of this season. We'll have to see how it goes, but for at least this week, it was a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and hopefully we'll get a lot more of these in the future here.
All right. So for Drew Bunting, who didn't have a birthday today, for Christopher Gates, who did have a birthday today, for Toots, who's in the background making sure all this goes off without a hitch like it does every week. Thanks for watching. Congratulations. The Minnesota Vikings moved to 1-2, and it's about as good a feeling as you can have at 1-2, as one could expect based on how the rest of the NFC North is looking and how the Vikings look today. We will see you Friday at 10 a.m. Central for Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, and then we will be back here next Sunday right after the Vikings take on the Cleveland Browns in week 4. So for Chris, for Drew, for Toonces, we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Have a good week.